when I've clearly done something that's
Right.
unjust or unfair, no way will she say to me, are you going to apologize first? Because she's so mad that she has zero interest in even trying to engage with me that way.
So like I apologized for something that I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. And then when I apologized, my husband was like, oh, thank God, I've just been waiting for this forever. And so it made me realize like, oh, this has actually been really hurting him.
Have you ever found yourself getting frustrated when a woman in your life doesn't apologize? In this episode, we're going to dive into the dynamics and get a female perspective around why it seems to men that women struggle to apologize. Now, we did an episode on this about 6 or 7 episodes ago. Doug and I dived into this. We dived into the dynamics of apologies in relationships. And the key takeaways from that episode were essentially looking for the ways in which non-verbal apologies take place. For me, Amelia gives me a lot of non-verbal apologies, sometimes some verbal ones, but I would say the ratio is 95% non-verbal and 5% verbal. So we spoke about that. It was a great episode. You go back and listen. Either before or after this, won't make a difference. The other practical step was around encouraging open communication. So the guy being able to actually explain to the woman what the apology does for him, like why it's important, because what came up on that episode was how resentment can build within men when they feel as though they're expected to own their part in something and do so quickly, clearly, and honestly, so that the woman can then take solace in knowing, or at least feeling as though that behavior won't repeat. Yet at the same time, the flip of that doesn't often necessarily ring true. I know you've got some very different opinions on this, which is great. And then also modeling apologetic behavior, which kind of goes to the previous point as well. I want to dive into this with you. I will give you a little bit of a backstory as well on some of the insights, because I think this is relevant and going to inform you thinking a little bit here, Mo. Okay. So one of the things we spoke about, and this came up with the conversations that I was having with the particular women I spoke with, and when I was asking them about this, one of the things that they said was that as women, we prefer to prioritize the harmony within the relationship, and therefore to say sorry is to acknowledge that I have done something to create the disharmony, and that can be quite a tough thing to accept, especially when societal and cultural influences often mean and discourage women from admitting fault openly, because oftentimes in the past, they can then often be judged more harshly, or have been judged more harshly than men. So therefore, there's more of a reluctance to want to open up and say, I'm sorry. And the other thing that we were talking about as well was women often carry a significant emotional burden, and sometimes apologizing can feel like an added emotional labor, especially if their efforts are not equally reciprocated. So if they feel like they're going to say sorry, but then the guy isn't going to be willing or able to be forthcoming as well. They don't want to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
So what was your take on this? Because when I shared with you the topic, you were confused. You were surprised by this idea that women don't apologize, because that hasn't been your experience. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of those reasons that you said, I could get on board with them, but I don't think that ultimately keeps women from apologizing. I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time with women who I don't feel like apologize. But I do spend a lot of time with women who definitely don't apologize first. And
that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. With Amelia and I'm just thinking about something a couple of weeks ago right before I came here. She was very clearly in the wrong.
According to you.
And according to her, based on her non-verbal apology, But the way that she tried to bid for connection to repair and reconnect
Yeah.
was by her making a joke and saying, "Oh, so you're going to apologize?" And I'm like, "Are you for real?" And she wasn't. She was saying it in jest. And to which I said, "Well, I will never apologize for this." And I also said it and there was no way I was going to apologize for it because it was something I literally did not do anything wrong.
He's fighting for
I
his story.
didn't. I'm fighting for the truth. And I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, the reason why I'm saying that is because she knew that it was something to do with a friend. She overreacted about something. But to your point, women don't apologize first. She was testing the water.
I didn't say women don't apologize.
I know, bell-shaped curve,
Yeah.
there's patterns. I think she was testing the water to see if I would do it first. Obviously, I didn't. To which she had to go out for something, came back. She phoned me while she was out. I really don't want to argue with you about this. I don't want to fall out with you. I'm like, me neither. Like, no, we're not. When she came back, she came up, snuggled up to me and, blah, blah, blah. And then, did she say? No, she never said I'm sorry. But that's her way of reconnecting. Yeah. But the point is, to your point, that can often be the case. When I've done something, when I've clearly done something that's unjust or unfair, no way will she say to me, "Are you going to apologize first?" Because she's so mad that she has zero interest in even trying to engage with me that way. And her expectation, and mine too, is that I very quickly take responsibility for my side of the street and do so clearly and confidently. So when I have done something wrong, there's no need for it to even go there with it, right? It doesn't even enter the realm. But when I haven't, and it's her, she will say that. And I think it's her way of beginning to ease into this dynamic or the apology. But she'll never just go there first.
I mean, in our relationship, the way we've also perceived leadership, I think we kind of have an agreement that if there's something where both of us have usually done something wrong, he will apologize first. If I've done something wrong, he's getting better at letting me lead to apologize first. If he's done something wrong, of course, he's going to apologize. But I would say, a lot of women that I spend time around, and for me, I feel like sometimes guys can just take it and take it and take it, and they never express that something's actually hurting them or the depth in which it's hurting them, and then they may explode. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know any of that was actually going on.
That's a big thing.
And the hurt. And so a lot of times I feel like women don't really know what to apologize for. Not that they should have to be told, but it is really helpful when you get the perspective of the guy who you've hurt and have them actually voice, hey, this is what I feel hurt about. Maybe, especially if it's in a calm way, I find you're going to get apology really quickly from the other side. Or they might give you a buck at first, watch you not be reactive, and then apologize.
And that's a big thing. But I also think for a lot of guys, they often don't know why they're hurt. And they also struggle to put words to it.
Right. Which then puts the weight back on the woman to say like, well, why aren't you apologizing? Well, I can't if you can't voice it, certainly I can't. Like if you can't put words to it, certainly I can't apologize for it sincerely. Because I might have a guess, but if I'm wrong and then I apologize for something that I'm wrong for, you could jump down my throat because you're like, that's not what I'm sorry for, but you don't actually know what you're sorry for. Or sorry, you don't actually know why you want an apology.
So what you're saying then, so previously on the other episode, we were taking the angle of societal norms and things that have been expected of women in the past and such. But you're saying that you don't think it's that as much? It's more so that guys...
Yeah, you said there's a societal norm for women to have harmony. I don't know those women. I know a lot of women who want a lot of... maybe they long for harmony, but they are really bad at creating it, so maybe they create the chaos. I don't know. But I think Ideally, sure, maybe I want harmony, maybe I want peace. But if you looked at my life or asked my husband, he would not say that I want harmony or peace.
Okay, so in your opinion then, this idea, well, let's just zoom right out and go to the top. In your opinion, the idea that women don't apologize, broad stroke, bell-shaped curve, blah, blah, blah.
For sure, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
Perfect. So you're in complete disagreement with that.
Yeah, and I think if you have a view that women don't apologize, you need to get around a different set of women. Probably aren't hanging around with the great, high-quality, healthy women.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say if you're around women who don't believe that they should apologize when they're wrong, they're wrong. I don't believe in any world that men should be apologizing more than women because we're all broken and stupid and make mistakes. So we should all be apologizing for something.
Yeah, we should. I agree. That's a nice ideal. So in your life, then, are you saying the ideal is the reality?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say...
Not just for you personally, but in your world.
Okay, so if I'm going to put numbers on it, I'd say in my world, all the women apologize, but probably only 30% of them might do it first.
Okay.
But I'm also around, I think, a lot of healthy women.
Okay.
And I want to be around healthy women. So I might have a subset of women that know and are aware. I would say a lot of the women I know never had parents that apologized to each other in front of them.
Yeah. I think an important point of differentiation here as well is those people that apologize but often don't apologize first. Are you talking about an apology being the words "I'm sorry"?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say that wouldn't just be it. Like I would say, I'm sorry for specific action. I can see how that caused this to happen, and I'm sorry for how that came off. Like that's what I would say a legitimate apology is, not just sorry.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt this episode, but the reality is if you are watching or listening to this right now, then you are looking to better yourself. And I applaud you. You're one of my people. And I want to give you the opportunity of taking massive action. So if you haven't joined the activation method yet, it's our flagship program. Do what thousands of other businessmen just like you have done and take action. Be one of the 1%ers that actually does the work and takes action. There'll be a link in the description that'll take you right to a page that'll just give you more information. There is no obligation. Just go check it out and see if it's a good fit for you. All right, let's get back to this episode.
And yeah, I would say that most of the women I know would apologize generally in that format. I know that because I spend time with them and their kids. So I guess some of this might be the assumption that if they can teach their kids to apologize like that, then they can apologize like that.
Oh, that's a big assumption.
Maybe.
That's a big assumption.
Okay, that's fair. But how often are you around couples where you're in person with them while they're arguing and watch them apologize? Because outside, I mean, you're essentially... Right. So you're making the same assumption by asking women.
Yep, true.
That I'm making by watching women be with their children and teach them a proper way.
My huge market research study, my meta-analysis study of the women I spoke with.
How many was that? What's your sample size,
several number of weeks. Look, wasn't a huge sample size, but it was definitely a curious investigation.
If you told anyone that there was a podcast on our channel saying women don't apologize.
Look, I think it's a great conversation.
I do too. I'm glad
we're having the conversation that a lot of people won't have.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to say it, because they don't want to come across as being offensive.
Yeah. And I bet it is true for some guys.
Everyone thinks it.
Yes.
Well, we're talking to the guys in the ranch.
I should call my husband right now and ask him what he thinks.
Yeah. Look, this is a real thing for guys.
Yeah.
And I don't think women understand that this is going on for guys, that guys get frustrated when they don't get an apology.
I agree.
And I would say that, and also guys don't want to talk about it because they don't want to look weak.
Yeah.
Guys don't want to say that they feel like it's unjust. Mm-hmm. They feel like it's unfair. They feel hurt. They feel all these things. They don't want to admit that.
Yeah.
Right? As a result, resentment then builds. And also women don't ever then really know how important it is for a guy to hear those words, just like it's important for a guy as it is important for a woman that their man takes ownership and responsibility,
That's
it's
a good
important
point.
for a guy that his woman also does something similar.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to make the woman masculine. We're not wanting that.
No, I don't think that's.
We just
saying
want
sorry
in.
has nothing to do with
We
being
just want in a bit of fairness.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're expecting this. Well, cool. This thing hurt me too. So I just want some reciprocation.
Yeah.
And just like for a woman, it's worrying when her guy doesn't apologize and doesn't take ownership.
Same thing for a dude.
Yes.
Okay.
It's also frustrating for a guy when his woman doesn't do that as well.
Okay.
And just like a woman wonders, oh, well, will this happen again? Guys will think about it a lot less, but that will still cross their mind.
Yeah.
And then when it happens again, the thing with a guy when it happens again is the guy probably not going to say anything. He'll just go, ugh, what's the point?
Yeah.
He'll throw his hands up. Well,
Which then he just
he
gets
won't
more and more
literally
resentful.
throw his hands up,
Yeah.
but internally he will throw his hands up and he won't make a fuss about it.
Yep.
He'll just give up. What's the point? And
Yeah,
move
that's a good
on.
point.
But that he's moved on, yet all that moving on does is create distance
Yeah.
in the relationship, resentment in the relationship. And again, I don't think it's spoken about enough.
Yeah.
I don't think either gender really understands it enough.
I don't think that men speak about how important it is. When you said that, I kind of rang bells in my head. I was like, oh, this is starting to make sense. Because I watched a couple fight. It was very close. We were living with another couple. And basically, he was told by the woman multiple times that he wasn't leading well, which I know, like, I knew was a big shot. Really, what she was saying is you're not planning well, but she was saying you're not leading well. And I watched him walk away from that. And I watched him be sad and resentful and then just like be like, we're going here, we're doing this, and just lead out a pissed off. And he just like swung the pendulum. So I could tell he was hurt and that he was insecure about it. And then he did that to the point where it pissed her off even more. And then she just went off. And what I realized is like, why would you not apologize? Like I was with her and I was like seeing her get more and more fed up with it. And she wasn't apologizing, but I was watching how much it was hurting and deteriorating him. And it was the first time I realized, oh man, like apologies matter. And the guy voicing like where he's at and how he's feeling matters. And obviously if you can't do that, then it's good perception as a woman to attune into that and to realize like how much it really hurts. I think that it's surprising me more and more how hurt a guy gets when a woman doesn't apologize, when he's just hurt by a woman, whether name calling or criticism or something else. And then it's also appearing to me like, oh, how much they do appreciate apologies, ownership, like stuff like that. As we're talking, I can appreciate that more and more.
It's needed by a guy, but he'll never say it's needed.
I know that's a
Because
big
he doesn't
issue.
want to admit that he needs it.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be strong enough to not need it and to not care and to let it roll off him.
I'm okay.
And-
if they can't admit that, I'm cool with that. But when they get the apology, then at least be super like, thank you. I've been waiting for this. I'm so thankful. So that it's repeatable behavior. If you can in the moment ask for an apology, I'm okay with that. I can understand that. But at least when you get the apology that you're wanting, if you get it, be so overly excited about it so that we know it's a reinforceable behavior.
Sounds a bit weird though, a bit overly excited about.
I mean, be really grateful. So like I apologized for something that I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. And then when I apologized, my husband was like, oh, thank God. I've just been waiting for this forever. And so it made me realize like, oh, this has actually been really hurting him. And so it makes me think, okay, the next time, which I'm not going to try to do that again, but the next time this may happen, I'm going to be really quick to apologize because he reinforced that that was really important to him.
There's a conversation going on inside every guy's head, which is, am I a good enough provider and protector?
Yeah.
It's a primal conversation subconsciously that goes on in every guy's head. So therefore, when the woman in his life criticizes or says something, now I get shit tests and blah, blah, blah. At the same time, when the woman in his life criticizes, especially his character or his efforts, or either directly or indirectly.
Any efforts?
I can't say any effort because
I think you're right. I think it is.
There's a lot within that, right? But if if she criticizes directly or indirectly by criticizing the actual effort or the action, and or doesn't acknowledge
Yep.
the effort or the action, because that's another big thing, right? That guys want, that they won't say. They just want to be acknowledged
Yeah.
for the effort that they are putting in. They don't need to be like a little pat on the head, like a little kid or a dog. They don't need that. Just, hey, I see how hard you're working, or I see how hard this, or I see how... It's a primal desire for a guy to provide and protect. So therefore, just like emotional safety is a primal thing for a woman,
Yeah.
right? This is a need for a guy.
Oh, this is so helpful.
And therefore, when he gets criticized or his actions or his motive or whatever,
Yeah.
and there isn't an apology, that eats away at how he sees himself as a provider and a protector.
Yeah.
And that what he hears in that moment is, I am not doing a good enough job at providing and protecting. And that feels shitty.
So I guess we kind of discovered why probably most women don't apologize. I don't think most women know that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Why most women don't apologize, at least first, or maybe as prominently. I would probably agree, since I do have a big subcategory of men that would probably say she never apologized, or she at least doesn't apologize first. That a lot of the reason is probably because they don't realize, one, how damaging criticism is. They know how damaging criticism is, but they don't know how damaging criticism is. Because it's hard if a guy's not voicing that. But I think that's a lesson for a lot of women to understand that you said efforts and his something else. Great flow.
It's not by his character.
Character, efforts and character, yes.
Yep.
So if there's something that he does around his efforts, because I can think of two things today that I already haven't acknowledged. And then one thing where he makes an effort that I looked like I overstepped, and we're not even living in the same space right now. And it's not huge things, but it's just like he's with the kids all right now because I'm doing this, and I haven't acknowledged that. And I sent him something that, our tenant sent us, and I was like, "Hey, did you see this?" When he's like, "Babe, I'm always doing this. I'm always responding to people. You don't have to." And it was very nice. But I was like, oh, I didn't acknowledge the efforts that he already goes to with the people. And so me doing this makes it look like I didn't see your efforts. Therefore, let me make sure you're doing it. And so it says something definitely about his character. If I'm reminding him, it says, "I think you're forgetful. I think you would not respond to this. I think you would leave this," or something like that. I'm just kind of playing around and guessing with that here. But yeah, it makes
There's this idea that women grow through praise. I wonder, I know the masculine grows through challenge. I get that.
women grow through praise.
Yeah.
Oh.
The feminine grows
Okay.
through praise,
Oh, okay.
right? And the masculine grows through challenge. But I also wonder, as men, how much more we might grow if we received more praise. I don't think it's ever happened, so we don't know, but it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole carrot and the stick. There's a lot of stick that's used with men.
Yeah.
Because broad shoulders, they can take it. They're never gonna say anything. Where the fathers have spoken to some. There's lots of historical and societal and gender things that weave into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But men have also never, bold statement, so in my experience, men have very rarely ever been exposed to a consistent level of appreciation and acknowledgement, especially from the woman they love. So therefore, we don't actually know the potential impact that could have.
I'd argue at the beginning of relationships, you could see that. There's a lot more
I think there's
of
a
that.
lot of unsaid things in the beginning of a relationship, right? But maybe, I can also see that there could be things that are verbally and clearly stated as well. But it could be a cool experiment. What if you gave yourself a 21-day challenge to find a way to praise and acknowledge Drew for something he has done every day for the next 21 days in a way that was genuine and authentic to you.
How would we measure that being successful? What would we
just see what happens? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, let's have another podcast in 21 days and figure it out.
I'm just throwing it out there. I know when I've done certain challenges for myself with Amelia, there's not been anything tangible that's measurable, but the connection has just significantly improved.
Better. Yeah, I can imagine.
Massively improved.
Yeah.
But I know we went a bit off topic, 'cause I know we wanted to talk about the apology piece, but it kind of went
No, this is all the
other
same.
ways. But I think it's linked.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway. So guys, always good to hear the other side of the story. I know the other episode we spoke a lot about and quite confidently about the role of the apology and why it may or may not come from the woman in your life. You've heard a great counter argument here. And I think, for me at least, the key takeaway here is women might struggle to apologize because as men, we are not clearly articulating what it is that has upset us and what impact that has had. And what if we were able to do that more often? How might that change things and set your partner up for success so that she's then actually able to apologize should she want to? So see you next time on the TPM show.